evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 3, episode 15. It is the bi-week post-game show. Very intimate little conversation here with myself and Graham this week. Graham, how are things?
Yeah, good. Maintain our 3-game lead in the division without even playing. So that was nice.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And
the stars looking particularly massive tonight.
It is. And do you want to throw out that little tidbit we were talking about just before the show started?
Yeah. So last I checked, the Eagles owned 3 of the top 15 picks. The question is, will they be able to score in any of them? That's the real question.
Yeah. That is true. Sorry, I'm just seeing the something here popped up on the ESPN app about the Washington football team. So, an employee's letter has been brought to the owners' meeting, urges NFL to release investigation reports. So,
they're not finished. This is not going away anytime soon.
No, things just keep going from bad to worse for the Washington football team. The much hyped Washington football team as well.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'll be honest. I was cheering them on Sunday night because a loss for the Packers means we have a better shot at the 1 seed. So that's just a reflection of how Cowboys Nation's feeling just now. We're absolutely flying in the division. There's nobody with a sniff of catching us. I mean, touch wood, it's going to take something pretty drastic, I think, to derail us at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, Andrew and DJ Dog, the comments coming in already. How about them Cowboys? And we need this Cowboys talk today. And Andrew even dropping some shade on Sir Ian's Packers. They're a 2-player team. Andrew, that's controversial.
I know ESPN Fantasy are running the Free Aaron Jones campaign at the moment, and I can see why. Regular viewers will know that I watch the Packers on a regular basis, always because my dad and I share Game Pass, so I get to see the Packers quite a lot. And Andrew, you are kind of right. It's Rodgers and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, who coincidentally has COVID protocols, who will miss Thursday's game. That's a sore one for fantasy players. Luckily, I don't have him in fantasy this year, so take this week's hot tip. If you need help at wide receiver, pick up Alan Lazard. That's my hot fantasy tip. Or Randall Cobb.
Very true.
Randall
Cobb, yeah. Always a great one to pick it up. So tonight's show, we don't really have an agenda, folks. So look, send us in your comments, send us in your thoughts. We're gonna, myself and Graham are going to talk about the defensive side of the ball. Jamie and Lauren spoke about the offense, and we'll talk on this side of the ball for defense tonight. But if it's anything you want to talk about, let us know. Send us in your comments, and fun, interactive show. As we say, we're always just, in this case, 2 guys here talking amongst ourselves if you don't interact with us. So send us in your thoughts. And it's great to see again. So we've Joe. We know Joe's listening in from Italy. And Cody, I'm not sure if we've had you in from before, but listening in from the east of Dallas. So it's great to have you joining us, Cody. So thank you very much for that. So I don't know where to start on the defense this year. I mean, did you expect this defense to turn up?
I didn't expect it to be numbered 7-11, to be perfectly honest. Other convenience stores are available. No, but what a surprise it's been so far. It's been quite incredible.
Yeah.
We talked with Meg Murray on last week's show, and we basically said, when our team's actually going to start moving away from Diggs. It's because 7 interceptions he has on the season. Is it 2 scores as well? He has.
2 pick sixes,
I've picked up the Cowboys. I'm in 6 fantasy leagues this year. I've picked the Cowboys defense up in 4. The other 2 I couldn't get because somebody drafted them already. I never thought I'd be saying that this time last year. I mean, what a complete difference. They've gone from one of the most questionable defenses to one of the most reliable. Dan Quinn can't thank him enough. See ball, get ball mentality, so much faster, so much quicker to the ball. Our draft picks look good. Last year's draft picks look good. And we've still people to come back as well. Let's not forget that. We've still got 90 to come back. We've still got Paul's guy, Neville Gallimore, to come back. These are two big players, big additions. When you consider that we had such a questionable run game last year, maybe not the top 5, top 10 in the league, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that you didn't mention how much you pasted me by at the weekend in our Dynasty League.
You didn't play a kicker.
I know. Our draft, I picked up a kicker and never thought to set my lineup on Sunday. So yeah, I'm proverbially kicking myself.
Is it Mzoa, the Bengals tight end? I picked him up off the street and he scores 24 points.
CJ Osamoa. I think
superb.
Yeah. Did he got you 2 touchdowns, and I believe Sunday was also National Tight Ends Day, was it? I mean,
it was.
They didn't talk about that much on Red Zone.
Yeah. But I know they yeah, Red Zone. Yeah. Moving on from. I mean, Jarwin and his name escapes me. Jarwin and
Schultz.
They were bitter not getting to play them on tight ends day. That's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we say, it's great to see the comments are coming in there already. So one that we'll bring up here from Joe, and like folks, keep sending in your questions. We're just going to try and deal with questions as we can get to them. But do you think Jerry is going to make a trade before the deadline? Personally, I don't see anything happening, but who knows with the Joneses?
It's not, for me, it's not a Cowboys thing to do. It's particularly not a Mike McCarthy thing to do. Mike McCarthy's used to building his team through the draft, and that seems to be doing particularly well. Just now, we didn't bring any big free agents. We brought in supplements in free agency just to create a bit of competition at safety. Going out might be a different story. There are a few injuries around the league at wide receiver. Don't be surprised to see Michael Gallup go. I know it certainly they're not going to let him go for next to nothing because I think they're due a high supplemental pick. So if somebody offers, if somebody needs help at wide receiver and they offer a 2nd round pick, it's going to be pretty difficult to turn down. You won't see anything silly like a 1st round pick or anything like that. You'll see maybe a pick on day 2, probably a pick on day 3, I would say so. Because you haven't seen Gallup this year and all that much, and he's only just coming off of injury reserve. So to answer the question, if I was to pick one position to bring in, it would probably be across the defensive line, just in terms of injuries. But I don't really see anybody coming in. We don't have the depth to go trading guys away, for picks, especially when we were playing just now. I would keep the group together. So going out, highly unlikely. Other than Michael Gallup. Coming in, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I mean, it really depends how desperate teams are at wide receiver. But it's kind of flooded. The league is kind of flooded with pass catches, and so I mean, I think a lot of the receivers that have come out in the draft in the past couple of years have supplemented teams. So, yeah, Michael Gallup maybe, but wouldn't you rather have him around and push for number 6 as opposed to a 3rd round pick, which you're probably going to get anyway? I know I was quite sour on Michael Gallup's situation, but the injury hasn't helped him. And like Joe just bringing up the point there, the rise of Cedric Wilson, that makes it much easier to trade Michael Gallup. It certainly does. I mean, we saw in Foxborough how good he was, to produce that kind of performance on the road. So probably not, Joe. I would say it'll be a quiet night for us on deadline day.
Yeah, I mean, unless we can get higher than a 3rd round pick for Michael Gallup, I would not trade him at all. Like, I would imagine he's going to net you. Yeah, it's going to be a 2023 supplemental pick.
Mm-hmm.
But, unless I'm getting a day 2 pick, I'm keeping him. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
As we say, Cedric Wilson is there. Noah Brown is there as a blocking receiver as well. So, and I think, to be fair, as Cody kind of alluded to, the chemistry, they're not going to try and disrupt the chemistry that's there with the team at present.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a great point. The chemistry is excellent at the moment. Yeah, I mean, the talk of Michael Gallup being traded, you're basically taking a rental on Michael Gallup because he can sign for whoever he wants in February. So, are you gonna give up a 2nd, 3rd round pick for a player that might walk away in February, March time? I don't think so. So, unless they can get agree a deal for Gallup before the trade happens, it's not going to be a high draft pick, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the points I just trying to see where it is here, and this has come up consistently, and we've talked about this game on game, every post game show, the number of penalties which the team are giving up.
Yeah, it's worrying. Particularly 52, Connor Williams. He almost killed it in Foxborough.
Yes,
that was tough. I think I counted 3 holding penalties. And I heard the point in a couple of other podcasts that he basically stopped Dak from being hit, and I thought, well, I get that, but if you're going to make it 2nd and 20, 2nd and 25, let Dak move around. He's not a statue. And at least if it's an interior pass rush, at least Dak can see it. It's not a defensive end screaming off the edge. But yeah, it's tough for Williams just now. I raised it in conversation with Meg last week that is Connor Williams one of our top 5 linemen, and the answer simply is no. He's not. But he's going to be. Because from all I see that the Cowboys plan to play Collins quite rightly at right tackle. But I raise the question again: could he not play at left guard? I know. Lauren raised the point that we're maybe seeing things in a rosy light, but he's got to be better than Connor Williams. He simply has to be.
Yeah. So. Another point that has been brought up, and Andrew, as we said, did we see the question above about 4 wide receiver sets? Do you think we might see any at the weekend?
I mean, possibly. Yeah. We kind of have, though. Like, I mean, particularly in from Blake Jarwin. He's a passing tight end, so Would you play all four? You know, I get the question. It is a question because we've four hot receivers just now. We do, but we also have two very capable tight ends who can do their job in pass protection. So to have six guys on the offensive line is it's more of a comfort to Dak at the moment, I think. Especially when by putting a tight end in there, you create matchup problems. You know, seeing four wide receivers, you can kind of play that with you can place corners on them. With tight ends, it's more of a matchup nightmare. You know, do you go with corner? Do you go with linebacker? All that kind of stuff. I just don't. I don't think the Cowboys play with four receiver sets. And if they do, they're going to split Zeke out wide from the backfield.
Yeah, I think the only way you will see a four wide receiver set is if Noah Brown is in that four set, because he has that ability and he is a bigger body wide receiver who can pick up a block as well. So I think, as you say, you're going to have your tight end in anyway. Zeke split out, and then you might play it. But and just Andrew again killing us with the comments tonight. Lazard is out for the Packers. So if you have Randall Cobb in your fantasy team or is available on wires, pick him the hell up.
And you can scratch my advice, really. Good shout, Andrew. Yep, thanks for pulling that one up. That's going to leave them thin. They are thin at wide receiver now.
You're looking at Randall Cobb, Valdez-Scantling, Tonyan are going to be the main guys.
I don't know I think Valdez-Scantling's still on IR. Whether he's placed to come back or not, I don't know. But I think he's still on IR. I saw it certainly on the NFL Fantasy app. He was on IR.
I'm gonna look up ESPN here as we're talking. But another question in from Joe, and again, we'll lean in on your Packers knowledge here. You know, Mike McCarthy's clock management has been a little bit odd this year. So, you know, would you be worried about that, or is it maybe, are we just making a bit too much of a deal about it?
I'm not worried about it. We're 5-1.
Yeah,
we're 5-1, and we've gone to California, we've gone to New England, and we've won on the road. No, I'm not concerned about it. I mean, if we're worrying about clock management, we're in a good place.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I mean, fair enough. We're talking about penalties, but if holding penalties and clock management is our biggest worry, we're good. We're good to go. We'll be fine. Like Joe, come back with some instances. Maybe we can talk about particulars. But I don't see it being a huge issue. No.
Yeah, you know, and I think again, Cody with a great comment here. We're just not used to something different. You know, that things were so stagnant for Jason Garrett for so many years. There's a bit of excitement, a bit of unpredictability, and you know, I think to be fair, and we've been singing the guy's praises all season, but Kellen Moore has been dialing it up in the passing game as well. So
yeah, I have. I'm probably the only guy on the show that thinks that Kellen Moore will receive a good offer during this season. There are so many teams who picked in the top 10 last year that are still in the top 10 this year, and how can you not look to Texas for your next head coach? I know he's particularly young, but so is Sean McVay. You've got to start somewhere. What other teams need to figure out is Kellen Moore good because of his playbook, because of his situational calling in the red zone, or is he leaning on the talent at his disposal a little bit? because I'm quite sure that if you gave Kellen Moore I keep picking on them, but if you gave Kellen Moore the Jets offense, would it be very, very vanilla? And would it be just another top 5 pick? He's doing really well. He is doing really well. He's back to his basics of not overthinking things in the red zone, giving the ball to Zeke, giving it to Dak. Still convinced that Dak scored on that first goal line opportunity. I don't see why he wouldn't have scored. Fair enough, he gave up the ball in the second one, but that should never have been in place. That was a touchdown, and I think they called it far too early.
Yeah.
To be fair to them, they've got to see it to call it, and maybe they just we've got Cowboys tinted glasses on, but for me it was a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was a touchdown, but I think, and Kyle Yeomans has been saying this for a long time, it's about time there was a damn microchip in the ball. How can you have VAR here in soccer, and in supposedly the biggest game in the world, you can't put a microchip in the ball that can show you whether a ball is over the line or not?
I mean, the football's made up of many different panels. You simply just attach it to the inside of a ball and sew it up. It's not... when you think of the billions of dollars that fly around the game, but certainly creates a talking point.
No, it's true. And just there's a couple of comments in here. So David saying they won't want to lose him and maybe a replacement for McCarthy. And then Joe saying, Kellen Moore is another year away from being a coach thanks to Dak and all those weapons. He's looking so good. Yeah, I mean, he is looking so good. But the thing is, he's scheming things up for his offense. Like, as Graham has said, if you give him a vanilla offense with, without a primary running back and without a 2 potentially top 10 wide receiver set in Cooper and Lamb and a top 10 tight end, how is he going to look? He could look very, very ordinary all of a sudden. But
I mean, it's the whole keeping Moore in the building thing. I think that's wishful thinking, to be perfectly honest, because Brian, you'll have seen it in the chat. I don't know who I raised the point with, but if Kellen Moore's doing well, the Cowboys are doing well, and Mike McCarthy's the head coach of the Cowboys. So, you can't keep second in command around whilst the commander's doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 32 jobs, head coach jobs in the league, and how often do offers for one of them come along? That's why guys jump. I mean, the one I go back to is Josh McDaniels. Went to the Browns, drafted Tim Tebow, and it unraveled so quickly after that. Not the Browns. Who did they take who drafted the Broncos? Broncos. Sorry, went to the Broncos. Drafted Tim Tebow, and it unraveled. I mean, Benny's come up with the point there. Benny, I wouldn't be surprised if it's this year. Would not be surprised if it's this year. I mean, think of the teams who picked in the top 10 and are well on their way to picking in the top 10 this year. I mean, off the top of my head, the Raiders are it's funny. The Raiders, they don't have a head coach, but they're staring the playoffs in the face. So, I mean, do you need a better opportunity than that? See if I'm telling you. See if the Raiders phoned next week. Exactly, Benny. If the Raiders phoned, would like to speak to Kellen Moore. What an opportunity that would be to take over a playoff-ready team. How often does that happen? How often does a coach walk into a team that's staring the playoffs in the face? It's usually on Black Monday when you finished inside the top 10 and you get rid of your coach. I mean, another great point from Benny. Derek Carr has a huge arm. They have a running game. They have a above average defense. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine what you could scheme up for Henry Ruggs?
Yeah.
So
and don't forget Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got weapons in Las Vegas, and I bet there's a few coordinators looking at that job just now. It'll be interesting to see what the Raiders do, because if the Raiders go on a run, why would you bring in a head coach? But in the same kind of breath, you need to appoint somebody sooner or later. So keep your eye on the Raiders.
Yeah, and just to counter this, and we have had comments here. So obviously Cody is saying, JJ will overpay for the staff. Andrew is saying that here JJ won't let it happen, and ultimately this one, I'm right in saying the coaches don't come under the cap. They don't, so Jerry will pay them whatever they want. But ultimately, the point is there's 32 jobs, and does Kellen Moore want to be a head coach? If, and as Graham has rightly said, if the Raiders job became open and Kellen Moore was asked would he like to interview, I don't think you're going to be able to pay him enough, Now, that leaves the Cowboys in a hole as to who would fill in as our offensive coordinator, but,
Well,
can a guy turn down a head coach?
He interviewed with Boise, and he went to visit with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that he's untouchable just because he's the Jerry Jones coach. I mean, I get money. I get money's a big thing, and obviously he's well paid. But you don't think the Raiders and Eagles would pay that for a new head coach that could take them places? We're not the only cash-rich club in the NFL.
No, we're not. And again, this is a point from a couple of people here. I think it might be that Joe has put this in twice. But that Dan Quinn is actually doing a better job than Kellen Moore with less talent. And he said that we might lose Dan Quinn because he's doing an incredible job with less talent. You know what I mean? I think this was our primary focus for this show, was to talk in terms of defense.
Yeah.
What impact has Dan Quinn had in this season?
Oh, well, he's so many times I've heard he's a player's coach. They love playing for him because of the confidence and the belief he installs in his players. He has a very clear idea of what defense he runs. His guys, he has a particular prototype of corner. To talk about the question of will he become a head coach, for me, not next year. If Lightning can strike twice and we get another top 10 defense, possibly. But he still has the Falcons tag to shake off. I know he's done really well in Seattle, but it's only last year he was a head coach of a flailing team. And they were loaded with offensive talent. It wasn't like they still had Julio Jones last year. They still had a Matt Ryan, serviceable running game. I think was Freeman still there at that particular time. So it wasn't as if he had a team full of duds. But when you reduce his workload, let him do what he does best, and he'll be well paid. He'll be well paid as well. I don't think he'll be in any particular rush to jump back into a head coaching role, especially when he's on a team that's 5-1, staring the playoffs in the face again. So, I'm not concerned about Dan Quinn. I'm far more concerned about Kellen Moore getting an offer than Dan Quinn.
Yeah. Andrew, just to bring up the point you made, we could pay him over the top to say and promise of head coach in the future. I don't think we really can promise him a head coaching role in the future because the question then is how long is a piece of string? And Kellen Moore is going to get to the point where, are we going to sack Mike McCarthy after this season? Are we going to sack him next season? Mike McCarthy is only in the job 18 months. So he's not going anywhere. So you can't turn around and say, Kellen, you're the next head coach, but, it could be 5 years' time, it could be 6 years' time. Yeah. Kellen Moore is going to want his opportunity somewhere. So again, I don't think it's about the money. It's about an opportunity for him.
Let me raise a scenario. So say the Cowboys go to, I won't give you a game, but say they go deep into the playoffs. Are you going to sack a head coach that went deep into the playoffs? No. So say we go deep into the playoffs, but we have a stinker of an off season. We have a rotten start to 2022, and we end up 7-9. Do you still want to make Kellen Moore the head coach despite a losing season? And on the other hand, you've got rid of McCarthy, but do you still want to keep Kellen Moore? Even though he had a losing season? This is all hypothetical. But basically my point is that Mike McCarthy will live and die by Kellen Moore. If Mike McCarthy does well, why get rid of him? If Mike McCarthy doesn't do well, what were the reasons for that? And Kellen Moore might be one of those reasons. On the other hand, to your point, Brian, how long does he stick around? Say the Raiders phone this season, you get a phone call from the Eagles or the Giants, teams that know him, or you get a phone call from say somebody retires, like I don't know, somebody off the top of my head.
David Culley.
Or I'm trying to think of the other coach. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine Bill Belichick retired? I mean, it's not out of. I mean, you could take over there. I'm just throwing out examples, but how often are you going to turn down those phone calls, hoping that Mike McCarthy gets sacked? And can you imagine if it ever got out that Kellen Moore was going to be Mike McCarthy's replacement? Yeah, you wouldn't. I guarantee you would not see Mike McCarthy for dust. His resignation would be handed in straight away. Because who does that? Who sticks around in a job working with the person that's going to replace them? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. And we've had that situation before. But Andrew, we're gonna use this as the last kind of comment. Is he not under contract with the Cowboys? Yes, he is under contract. But, and this is the thing that's happened before in this league, if he's given an opportunity at a head coaching role, do you not think Jerry Jones is then going to try and parlay that in some way into draft picks? Like, who was it? Was it someone gave up 2 first-rounders to get Jim Harbaugh back in the day? Coaches have moved mid-season for draft picks. So it is something that we can use to our advantage. As Joe was saying here, he'd rather lose McCarthy than Dan Quinn. Again, and as Graham made the point, Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy are tied together because if the defense starts, disimproving, and McCarthy's job is on the line, so is Dan Quinn's job. It's not just a matter of keeping Kellen Moore or keeping Dan Quinn. It's a coaching ticket. Just from the comments,
remember, some of us need to remember that it's Mike McCarthy that's the head coach. Kellen Moore's doing well, Dan Quinn's doing well, but Mike McCarthy calls the shots. He was the one in the room with Will McClay, Jerry Jones on draft night. He was the one deciding on the final 53. I think we're selling McCarthy a little bit short, if I'm honest. Because he took a lot of stick last year, and he's found his feet, and he's in charge of a team. I'm going to say it. He's in charge of a team off to the playoffs. So let's give him a little bit of credit.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, the one thing we all bitched and moaned about for years under Jason Garrett was he's Mr. 50-50. He's 8-8. He can't break out of that. He'll have a 4-12 season, and then he'll have a 12-4, and then he'll have an 8-8. Mike McCarthy has always guaranteed 10-win seasons. I think bar his first season in Green Bay, almost every year they went 10 or 11 or 12 wins in the season. That's the caliber of a head coach that you want, that you're always challenging for the playoffs. And I think, to be fair, Cody is giving him a bit of credit here in terms that he walked, that's what he is. He's the guy who's bringing it all together.
Mike McCarthy is the coach top of Team 40 Burger. We never had any talk of Team 40 Burger under Jason Garrett.
Nope.
If anything, he has unleashed Kellen Moore. And, I remember back to the 2019 season, we were actually thinking, who's calling the shots here? Is Jason Garrett in Kellen Moore's ear? Is he telling him to do certain things? If anything, McCarthy deserves credit because he gave Kellen Moore the autonomy to go and do what he's doing right now. So he has seen talent in Kellen Moore. I mean, obviously, with bringing in guys like CD Lamb helps, but you can bet he had a say in it. Of course, he had a say in it. Yeah,
there we go. I love all three coaches, and yes, I think right now we would all agree that we love all three coaches.
We can agree on that, Andrew. We love all three coaches right now. We love all three sides. Well, maybe not all three sides of the ball, but we love the offense and defense. That's for certain.
Best I've seen the Cowboys since the 90s, and that is a fair point. I mean, it is
a lot of good things happened in the 90s.
Just one comment here that we do have from DJ Dog. Which coach on the current staff would you want to replace Kellen? Doug Nussmeier or Ben McAdoo?
Not McAdoo. No. I'm not really. I'll be honest, I don't really know what his job is, to be perfectly honest. Is it offensive, like consultant or something along those lines?
Yeah, he's an offensive assistant. So I know this has become one of the new, hip things, is that you have former head coaches who are assistants, and that they share their opinions and that kind of stuff. So have him as an assistant, but no, not as an offensive coordinator. No.
It's an interesting question. It's definitely an interesting question, because I mean, who do you really do you give somebody his first start? It's a strange one. I mean, Joe Philbin has head coaching advice. He's the offensive line coach, but wasn't so hot in Miami. I'm almost thinking, do you go along with somebody brand new?
From outside.
But it's a good question.
I just reacted. I just read this comment, and I'm a bit taken aback by this one, Joe. I don't think anyone wanted to fire Kellen Moore last year. I think everyone gave Kellen Moore his credit and said, he did the best with what was, a team without, as you say, Dak is saving his job. Yes, that's fair, but I don't think anyone was criticizing Kellen Moore for what he was doing last year. Or have I totally misread that?
I don't think so, no. I think, how would any offensive coordinator cope if they said to them, right, you're going to lose your starter in September, you're going to lose your backup in October, and then you're going to have to pull some guy off the street or an undrafted free agent or a 7th round draft pick. remember they had a winning season in December.
Yeah.
So it's, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was like, I challenge anybody, any offensive coordinator to produce a winning season losing both quarterbacks.
And let's not forget, they also were missing the right and left tackle for last year. For the majority of the season. So, I think most of us were realistic in our expectations in that, you can't really plan for that. So it's hard to say it's all on the offensive coordinator's fault when they're missing so many pieces. I mean, I think they won games they had no right to win last year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's certainly a Kellen Moore trait, that to go through a season like that and still produce the wins that we did. I mean, that is what makes him so attractive to a team struggling for talent. He does have the ability to raise and scratch out wins.
So before we go much further, we'd like to add in the Godfather. There he is himself, Jamie.
Evening, boys.
How are you, Jamie?
Sorry for being late.
You ditched us all night for a Leeds game. How did they do?
They ended up losing 2-0, but it's one of them things in it. But I was supposed to be in London anyway. I had tickets in the hotel, but I couldn't get time off work. So thank you for letting me watch the game before committing to getting on with
Don't feel sorry for him, folks. He's off to Norwich at the weekend, so don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
he'll get his time. Is Norwich ready? That's the question.
Will Bielsa be sacked? There's a question, Jamie.
Well, I call it.
But one of the things we did want to touch, as we said, the main point of this show really was to talk defense more than anything, and I'm just trying to find the comment here, because it was a good point. Is that
we'll go through some of the questions we've had already, Brian. So just one or two. Jay, would you bring in anybody? Would you trade for any position, or would you let any position go?
I think the Gallup talk will heat up a little bit more on it. I know it's started to get on hot on the heels. He's going to get a big contract somewhere in it. Now, do we risk losing him for no and trying to recoup him back? But I think we'll make a move or two. I don't think we'll make a big splash. I did have you guys on while I had the match on, and you were saying, gee, it's not normally a Cowboys thing, but I think it's pretty much nailed on it that we're going to make the playoffs. It's just what season we're going to get. I just think it'd be nice to get a couple of additions, maybe on the defensive side, just to take a little bit of pressure off them. Maybe even another pass rusher. Maybe, like I say, you can never have too many pass rushers. So maybe pick up someone. But can't see massive amounts to be done.
Yeah, I think we reached the point that we don't have a glaring need. When was the last time we said that, particularly at safety? I suggested, like you, Jay, maybe somebody along the defensive line, but I don't really want to mess with the chemistry we've got just now on offense. The closer we get towards the end of the season, the lower Michael Gallup's value becomes, because you're effectively just renting them until February, because you can go and sign for anybody. So, like you, I think we should just hold out for the supplemental pick. It's just got to that stage now. I mean, would you not rather throw them in November, December, and make the offense even better?
Do you know what? They use that, but then I think, as our Cedric Wilson's come on, and especially our tight ends, both of them are playing at a decent level. I'm not by any means saying that Gallup's not a good player, because he is, but it's like, does it soften the blow of maybe losing him and, like saying, getting as much? Because I think I thought he would have traded him before the draft, to be honest, and we could have potentially got a low first rounder now. like you say, it's dwindling with every passing week, and it's so do we cut his losses now and take what we can? Like I say, or do we just go for broke and put him in and have an extra weapon and just outscore teams?
Yeah. So, just touching on what we were saying there about the about the trade deadline. I think if we're going to see anything, I think it will be outgoings, because I think Stephen and Jerry both kind of alluded to the fact that there's players coming back. So we have Tristan Hill, Calvin Joseph, Neva Gallimore, Tank Lawrence, Michael Gallup all to come back. So we have to create roster spots anyway to get those guys back onto the squad. So I think that's where we're going to see any movements. I can't see anyone else being brought in. And, I think it kind of brings us along nicely into the defense, and a couple of comments that we have had coming in. And it's both from Cody and from Joe, and it's kind of the same point. When Tank comes back, do we see Mike Parsons having a role similar to Jalen Ramsey? And then Joe saying when D-Law comes back, will you put Parsons into playing middle linebacker? Where do you both see Micah Parsons' future being, with D-Law being available?
Linebacker.
Yeah.
Linebacker. I know I've seen plenty of suggestions on Twitter that leave him in at the end and let him go. But, just from a talent perspective, would you not rather see him on the field more at linebacker than you would rotating him at defensive end? Because the way Randy Gregory's playing just now, would you take him off the field to put Parsons back in when you can quite easily have Parsons at, say, weak linebacker and have him rush? Can you imagine Gregory on one side, Tank on the other, with Parsons having room to roam? That's where we saw, like they saw on draft night. That's where his rush came from. He spotted holes in an offensive line and exploited that hole. So he's not going to be able to do that at defensive end. He's going to have a job. You rush from the outside, and that's it. Whereas if you play him at linebacker, you can drop into coverage, you can make sideline to sideline tackles, and he can rush from there. So I think it would be restrictive to put him at defensive end. Tank and Gregory do their jobs, and I'm happy to say Tank's a lot better productive-wise this season. We're actually missing him at the moment. So, I don't know, but I think Jay agrees with me, but I would rather have Gregory, Tank, and Micah Parsons on the field at the same time.
I know we're talking defense, but I think we touched on it last week, and to be fair, we've all touched on it in shows previous. It's nice to see that he can get his hands in the dirt and play off the edge, causes the opposition's offensive line a lot of headaches. But then you look at what did he thrive at in college? Look at and not to kind of switch it back to offense, but we've had God knows how many talk with Connor Williams. Where did Connor Williams thrive in college? He thrived at tackle. Cowboys have rarely played him at tackle. So why move Micah Parsons from where he absolutely thrived at Penn State, playing a linebacker, and he thrived, to be fair, at the start of the season in those positions. You drafted him to play a linebacker. It's nice that he's that Swiss Army knife, and he can play the end, but play him at linebacker. That's where he was drafted for. You essentially with how he played, and then you can also say how Dribble Cox has come on when he's seen the field. That's why they essentially got rid of Jalen Smith. Because they could move on, and they've got two players. And so, I would play linebacker, and I wouldn't really see him anywhere else.
Another side to that is that, like Jay says, you've already got rid of Jalen Smith. So if you're going to run with Parsons at linebacker, all of a sudden if you're going to run with Parsons at defensive end, all of a sudden your linebacker core becomes a bit thin. I mean, you've probably got 3 starters in Van der Esch, Neil, and Cox. Van der Esch being on a contract year, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're going, right, okay, if we're going to move our best piece to defensive end and we get rid of Jalen Smith, how do we supplement the linebackers? Because that leaves us with 3, the special teams king, Luke Gifford. And is there anybody else?
I think you've got to look as well, haven't you? If anything comes of it, at the minute we've got Keanu O'Neill kind of switching back and forth, haven't we, between linebacker and playing in the secondary.
Yeah.
Well, we could end up do you know what I mean? In case he's not, if the rumours are true, obviously what happened when he got arrested, he's been arrested for a misdemeanor. We could end up losing him, so then you're potentially losing somebody at linebacker because then Neil's going to have to maybe play a lot more safety.
Yeah.
So you don't want to start like Jenny said, you don't want to start tinkering and ruining the mojo that the team's got at the minute by having to fill someone in just for the sake of it. And so playing where they thrive.
I think this talk will die down when we get Tank back.
Yeah.
I think once we get a decent pass rush from Gregory, Tank, and I don't know, maybe Bradley and I. Or oh god, who are the other pass rushers? Golston, even Golston
Armstrong.
Yeah. I think we've got the depth to deal with pass rush. Just let Parsons do what he does best.
Yeah. So the other question that we kind of had is that we do have a lot of defensive pieces coming back into the team. We have, as we say, we've Tristan Hill, Nava Gallimore, Kelvin Joseph. How does that excite you? Does it fill you with a bit of trepidation, or what do you see as their role being? I mean, if you look at the impact that obviously also Diggy Zoo has had, that Chauncey Golston has had. I know Jamie's ears are pricking up already. Quentin Bohanna, the impact he's had, I just think these guys are just adding more and more depth to what we have.
Yeah. And don't forget, you've still got our 2nd and 3rd round pick to get flung into the mix as well. So my question would be, do they come straight back into the 53? I mean, I know we've spent a lot of capital on Joseph and Nashon Wright, but it's not the worst secondary in the world right now. So I think just in terms of what was spent in draft capital, I think they'll come back in because they'll be on decent contracts. So I think with the depth on D-line, I wouldn't expect much out of Tristan Hill much longer. He seems to be just the enigma, struggled in his first year, made a bit of impact in his second year. He's out injured again. There isn't any room for error on the D-line right now. If you're not fit and 100%, you're going to fall down the depth chart pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see who rises to the top. But like you say, Brian, it is a bit encouraging because we're playing at a high level with pieces to come back in.
Yeah,
it's scary. Just the fact that we're missing so many key players, both sides of the ball, that this team's playing at such a high level at the minute. It's nice to have that headache for once of we're playing at this high level, and when with these players that are out at the minute come back, it's like you'd rather have the issue of how do I get these guys on the field than who am I going to put on the field because I can't get these guys on the field, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. And I mean, I think to be fair, we've talked about our own guys, but I mean, I think Terrell Basham, Carlos Watkins, Brent Urban, they've all added something this year as well, So I think as much as our draft picks have done well, our free agent acquisitions this year have been very good as well. You know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no better than the safety position. I mean, I just wish they'd signed longer deals at the time, to be perfectly honest. Silly thing to do from KZ. I was singing his praises in week 2 and week 3. Silly thing to do. But these things happen in a season, you know. It's a shame, but we've certainly got the depth to deal with it. Like Jay was saying, you can move Neil back. You could give Malik Hooker more time. I mean, I didn't see Malik Hooker having such a small role to play so far, because he was. I think they basically set a value for Hooker, and he waited until that was the best offer. You know, like I saw Hooker starting somewhere. To be perfectly honest, it was former first round pick, and the Colts obviously moved on from his injuries. But I didn't see Hooker having such a small role. I mean, I think you'll see more of him now, certainly.
I think, and maybe this is just me, that Kazee was getting more time because obviously Kazee is familiar with Dan Quinn's system. And I think, because if you look at it, if you track it back to the preseason, they had Kazee and Hooker in at the same time for preseason visits and to try and see. They kept Hooker warm all through the off-season and picked him up just before the season started. So is it more a case that, you know, he's just getting used to Dan Quinn's system and his time was going to keep going up game on game anyway? Because that seems to be what I'm seeing, is he's coming in more in each game.
You want to say that one, Jay?
No, I was going to let you take it, G. It's an hard one. Like I say, I'm surprised Malik Hooker was there. I wonder if it was just kind of the Cowboys just doing a lot of due diligence, because I know he had the injury, didn't he, and kind of don't want to kind of push it a little bit too much. Or it could have been the fact that they're putting an offer on the table and just said, look, see if there's anything else out there. Kind of do it that way, and then kind of play it away where they don't snooker themselves and force him to sign a deal and say, look, you see, you take it or you leave it. This is the role that we have for you if you want to see if you can get a bigger role somewhere else. It's only benefited us, and like you said, I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago when Brad Sham came on. It's good to see that we're falling out of this kind of way where we used to sign free agents for massive deals and throw loads of money and kind of follow in a way, kind of the Patriots way of doing it. Players who fit the system don't have to be these flashy players, because the flashy players really make much of this. I mean, in terms of you're not going to win a Super Bowl, for instance, with just Ezekiel Elliott, and then a lot of flashy players who can't really do much, and it's just they're getting a big pay deal off back of a good season. You need players to come in and execute what he wants to do. And last year was an absolute mare. Yeah, there was all the stuff that was going on in the world, but apparently it was a tough system to learn. And as they say, it's the easiest way to the end zone is in a straight line, in it. And when you break it down, football's a simple game, in it. Why complicate it? Stop the run, stop the pass, get players in that can fit the system, and we've got a core of players that are clearly thriving in this system, and doing a smart move to bring Dan Quinn in and letting him get his own men in. That's what one of the things I've always found a bit strange about American football is that you obviously have the gym and he brings them in, and the coach has got to coach and wouldn't let the coach bring in their own players to fit that system. If you want a team to thrive, they've got to be able to fit, and we're reaping the benefits at the minute. And it's and like I say, like G said before show probably got kicked off. things went our way and we didn't even play this week. So it's when things are going good, Alan. So let's revel in it because it's not been over the last 20 odd years since we last made the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't want to bring the show down. So question for the both of you on safety position, because we're talking defense, obviously. Are you a little bit concerned that Keanu Neal, Van Der Esch, Kerrs, Hooker, Thompson, and Kazee are all free agents?
No, I'm not overly concerned because we knew what we were getting at the start of the season. And we know that our cap situation is quite tight for next season as well. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of the draft class this year was with one eye towards 2022 and letting them get experience around those kind of guys like, as we say, Jaron Kerrs, Demonte Kazee, Malik Hooker. I think you will see 2 or 3 of those guys back next season, and they'll work out some kind of a deal with some of them. But we had 11 draft picks this year. Those guys they're here through 2024, and we'll work from there with them. But there'll be a drop in production next year. But how much of a jump will we see from those guys next year as well?
I think you can play the thing as well, can't you? The way of the old saying of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in it. You get players in on these team-friendly deals. If the ball out, then you have to pay more. Someone's going to take them off your hands. But then you could give the guys a 3-4 year deal, and they could absolutely stink the place up, and then you're tied up for a lot of money. But I suppose in the way that we've got them is that they're now sat here, and they can see the morale that's around the building. They're playing in a system that they enjoy playing in. They know that this Cowboys team is not on that kind of downward trend where it's going to end up being blown up and it's going to be a full rebuild. There's still a lot of life left in this team for a deep playoff push. So that could sway them back. If we get far in the playoffs and it's like, we almost got there and could say to them, right, look, we'll give you another deal. We'll give you a bit more money, but we don't want to snooker ourselves. They deserve to get paid, but then I think you've got to look at it as well. I'm not trying to quite like another spot. Like you always see, like the NBA, and you see all these players getting these supermax contracts. Well, then it's a team sport. So you deserve to get paid, but then do you want to snooker the cap and then play on a dog awful team and put away your career and just look back and say, I finished 5th, 6th, 7th in stats. You want to come back and look back and say, did I win a Super Bowl?
For me, it's a difficult one because, just had a quick look at the list. From that list, I see at least 5 defensive starters on it. But on the other hand, are they playing at such a high level because they're in a contract year? And then you go and overpay some of them to keep them, and they have a stinking 2022 season. That's the question. Because you've got to hit on who you pay. Not to forget that Randy Gregory is also on that list. So say you pay Randy Gregory $10 to $15 million, because that's what it's going to take. I raised the point last week. He's not going to sign for $4, $5, $6 million. In my opinion, he's not going to take a low deal. We've seen pass rushers go for. Take our own Tank Lawrence, $21 million. So, fair enough. He's had a prolonged. There's plenty of evidence of him being a top pass rusher. But it's not like Gregory's been sitting in the background for 4 years doing absolutely nothing. That's a concern for me, and we're talking defense tonight, and that's a concern for me that the free agency list of starters is quite high. But if you pay them all and you keep them all, do you get the 2021 defense, or do you get a team that's now fully paid up with 3-4 years on their contracts, and all of a sudden the productivity falls off the cliff and you're stuck with them? It's a tough one. It really is a tough one.
Yeah. Like, I think if you bring it back to, say, the Brandon Carr deal, I mean, we gave Brandon Carr $50 million for 5 years, and Brandon Carr was a good cornerback, and he did well, but he was never an elite cornerback, and that's what we paid him as. And I think the Joneses have learned from that, and we'll bring these guys in on the 1-year rental. If they ball out, look at Robert Quinn a couple of years ago. We managed to pick up a 3rd or 4th round supplementary pick from. That's the trade-off. And as we say, those 3rd and 4th round picks turn into Dak Prescott was a supplemental pick.
Yeah.
Chauncey Goldston, I think, was a supplemental pick this year, wasn't he? And Sean Wright. That they're the kind of players you pick up, and you can pick them up on cheap deals. So yeah, we might have 5 defensive starters not returning next season, but you have Jabril Cox who'll be available next season to start at linebacker alongside Micah Parsons. You have Israel Mukwamu who can play as safety next year. You have Calvin Joseph who will be back. If you don't manage to re-sign Randy, and I don't see how they won't do it, you have Micah Parsons can do a job for you at defensive end. You have Chauncey Goldston can start at defensive end. So there will be options there for them, and it's just as you say, do we want to pay the guys, or do we want to get the production from them? Because they have to ball out.
And I'm not being doom and gloom. Obviously, I mean, we're 5-1, so but it's a defensive show, and I think we're set at line, but we're set at on the line. We might lose. I'm not as confident as you guys in Randy Gregory. We might lose Randy Gregory. We are set at corner, because, like you say, we've two high picks that we haven't even seen yet. So we've got 2 corners to come in. Mukwamo can play safety, and hopefully you hit on the safety that you do keep, because we've still got Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson signed through 2022 as well. So it's not terrible. It's just I wanted to raise the point on the defensive show that it could be another transitional season next off season.
I think the thing with Gregory, I agree. He's probably going to get a lot of money, but he's going to get offered a lot of money. But I can see him being a bit like a Tyron Smith, and I think he'll turn down a ton of money to stay just for the fact that the Cowboys have stayed completely loyal to him, and that's what makes the Cowboys such a class organisation off the field as well. They could have just wiped their hands in, and our Johnny Manziel with the Browns, as soon as trouble started to hit, there was like, right, let's just get rid of him. And the Cowboys were like, no, let's look after this guy. He needs the support, and I think that goes a long way. Where I said, I think it was a couple of years ago, Tyron Smith did the same, didn't he? He had a couple of injuries, and he just I think he signed the first I don't know if it was his second contract that he got. He just signed it without no negotiations. He was like, no, the Cowboys looked after me. They covered medical bills, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I think that goes a long way. Like I say, he'll get some offers, but I could see him staying for a lot less than he could probably get out on the open market.
I mean, you raised the point, I think it was last week, you raised the point, Brian, that they could backload his deal for when the cap explodes, and they could escalate it so you could get the signing bonus spread across, and then the base salary increased towards, and that allows us to convert some of that into signing bonus. So it can even itself out when the cap increases, because, like you say, the cap will bounce significantly in the next couple of years. It's. I mean, I don't want to bring the show down. We're in a good place. Just throwing it in for discussion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, we're an hour and 10 minutes into this show, and it's now time to raise the show back up. We haven't even mentioned the name yet all show. Trevon Diggs.
Well, you save the best to last, Brian. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And remember, we're not talking about Trevon Diggs because Trevon Diggs is the best kept secret in the league. So we're just doing our part.
Oh yeah, I knew there was a reason. Yeah, that's it. Hold on one second.
You think a coach like there it is. Trevon Diggs has intercepted this segment. You think a coach like Bill Belichick would have done his homework? You know?
Yeah. that surprises me. You know, that Bill Belichick didn't do it.
I'm still convinced they schemed for Parsons.
Yeah.
They must have schemed for Parsons, and they can't take away everybody. Belichick's famous for taking away your biggest threat, and they've obviously labelled Parsons as that, and he had a quiet night. So their theory worked, but it's just a shame that they went to Diggs so often.
Yeah.
A shame, you know.
Yeah.
To be fair though, as well, you could probably think that just for the fact that going back on how Mike likes to describe Mac Jones, that is his 5-yard kind of check down kind of QB. So if that's kind of that's what it is, then you can understand, like you say, that they would probably look to take out Parsons because you're not going to worry about a lot of them deep balls, are you? But then for the first time he throws to him, bang, it's like see you later. Like it was just get on the Diggs train all the way.
Yeah,
I did see a tweet that I wish I'd brought up. The Patriots' biggest offensive weapon was Connor Williams.
No need for that with two longhorns around you, Graham. But I do love the fact that Mike loves just throwing shade at other SEC quarterbacks, you know, in terms of Mac Jones just being a 5-yard dump-off merchant. Let's not forget, Mac Jones has been the best rookie quarterback this year, and it's not in doubt.
He was my favourite quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
If you're going to put a rookie into a system, put it into an established system. And what do you know? Mac Jones is doing the best out of the lot so far.
Yeah.
Uncanny. You know, I think it's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. I can see comments here flying in about the Vikings game, and obviously, folks, Thursday night there will be a show about the Vikings game and everything that's coming up on that. So it's not that I'm ignoring the comments that are coming in for the Vikings game, and I mean everyone's talking about stopping the run, and the question here, from Andrew. Does he get another pick?
I think he does, because Kirk Cousins likes an interception.
Oh, he does. He loves an interception,
especially against the Cowboys.
It's like the UK Cowboys Twitter page has got that Oprah Winfrey gif on prep and in the draft. It's like, you get an interception, you get an interception, and you get one.
I mean, let's face it. It's not like his receivers are duds. And he still finds a way to work in the odd pick. I mean, see, if I was going to pick a brand new set of receivers, the Vikings 2-3 would be pretty high on the list.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't got a slouch at running back either, have they?
No.
that's got to be the best 3-3 team we've seen over the last 10 years, maybe.
Although I
don't want to get a bit carried away, right? But listen to this list. Our next 4 games: Vikings losing record, Broncos. Do the Vikings have a losing record or a tied record?
3-3 at the minute, are they?
Vikings tied record, Broncos losing record, Falcons losing record, and Chiefs. Who would have said the Kansas City Chiefs would have a losing record after 7 weeks?
Yeah,
is that not ridiculous?
They're there for the taking. It's this one this week that scares me, to be fair, just for the fact, like you say, they've got an abundance of talent at wide receiver. They've got a decent tight end. They've got a great running back. And we've just got bye week. bye week's always that thing. Like sometimes it's a good thing in terms of the injuries. Like I said, because we picked up a couple of knocks in the last game just to kind of get them that extra time to get ready. But also, does bye week sometimes kill momentum when you're on a run that we're on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Paul Stewart weighing in with the predictions. Anthony Brown with an interception. Hey.
Was he getting traded this week to someone else?
This week there's every chance Quentin Bohanna ends up with an interception.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to drop in that Nate Diaz gif. I'm not surprised.
Got more chances of Zeke getting an interception.
But yeah, Paul, you're dead right. Anything can happen.
We
Absolutely,
know
anything can and anything will happen.
But
But
the first interception for Brown.
no,
Did he not score pick 6 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, he got one the other week. Yeah, he got one.
Yeah.
The other week.
Yeah, he got the one in the Giants game, wasn't it? Yeah, he got one in the Giants, and then Diggs got one against the Patriots.
So I've got another one for you. What do you do with Leighton Vander Esch?
Oh, that's a tricky question.
That is because like a bit of backstory. The Cowboys have not taken Leighton Vander Esch's 5th-year option, so he is in a contract year. For me, I mean, I think you guys are unsure. I'm right there with you because in a year where we're talking about a huge upside to the Cowboys' defense, I don't hear Vander Esch mentioned an awful lot. I hear more from Neal, from Cox, Diggs, obviously, Parsons. Is Vander Esch the forgotten man, or is he just doing his job quietly?
Yeah, I think he's doing his job better than what Jalen's probably
Yeah.
I was very against the Cowboys taking up his 5th-year option. I don't think he deserved it, especially what the 5th-year option cost was gonna hit you. To be fair, I still think I think he goes, and I thought the Cowboys would have got rid of Jalen Smith, but not when they did. I thought it would have been at the off season. If he's willing to accept a team friendly deal, then I'd bring him back. But I'm not paying him the big millions because he don't deserve it.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I think his debut season, himself and Jalen lit it up, and I think Paul's bringing up the comment other teams will pay him more than we will. I'm happy to let him go for that.
And just to use a few of the Cowboys, like you say, over the last couple of years, in terms of good players and bad players, I say bad players loose-tongued because they did do some good stuff, but Byron Jones wasn't going to get that big deal from the Cowboys because he just didn't deserve it. Someone was going to pay him the big money, and the Dolphins obviously had more money than sense and paid him. I mean by that, I mean in terms of pretty much paid him as, I think, was it the highest paid defensive back at the time?
That's right.
And he didn't deserve it. But then on the other end, we had Anthony Hitchens, who had a fairly decent career with the Cowboys, and we couldn't afford to pay him because of other positions that we needed. So.
Yeah, and he ends up with a Super Bowl ring.
It just happens
and Damian Wilson and Taco Charlton both have Super Bowl rings.
Oh man, Taco Charlton, how's he? Oh. How's he got a Super Bowl ring?
He's like a bad dream. No, but to go back to my original question, I mean, so say you take Vander Esch out of the equation, you've got Parsons, Neal, who's on a 1-year deal, and Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford. Is Francis Bernard still around? Yeah,
he's on the IR at the minute as well.
If you're not going to keep Vander Esch, it's something you'd need to address. But we've got Vander Esch to the end of the season, obviously. Like Andrew was saying, Yeah, but right now I'm not overpaying to keep him. I mean, because he's had neck surgery as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The last surgery I would wish on a linebacker was neck surgery. Does that rear its head again? This is the question.
And do you know what makes it a little bit more? Probably softens the blow in terms of letting him go. Over the last few years, the Cowboys have, and especially how the draft class is turning out this year, is that the Cowboys know how to find a gem in the draft. So there's going to be a gem or two in that round 3, round 4. There's going to be a linebacker or that kind of Swiss Army knife linebacker safety kind of guy that can come in and play 10, 15 snaps a game. That will probably do a bit more of a better job than Van Der Esch is going to do, and then you can give a lot more snaps to Jabril Cox.
Yeah. Like it just. I think as Paul has summed it up, look, it's the nature of the business. Players come, players go. Ultimately, it's the no sentiment league as much as it's the no fun league. You know, I mean, there's very few players that you are guaranteed. I mean, I think in our time, as we said, Tyron Smith signed a deal, didn't even look at the numbers. Sean Lee signed deals, didn't look at the numbers. The special players like that who you will make an exception for because their production has been so good and so consistently good. We haven't had that consistency with Leighton across the 3.5 seasons he's played with the Cowboys yet. So it's hard to say we should pay him.
The one glaring stat for me is that he hasn't had a full season since his opening season, his rookie. So in 2019, 9 games, 2020, 10 games, and he's played all 6 this year. Certainly. So if he can play an entire season, that'll work in his favour. But you wouldn't overpay to keep him because he'll be on. Brian, rough guess, he'll be on $4.5 million. Roughly about that.
Yeah.
So
it's around that at the minute.
That's a sizable number to go and get somebody else.
Yeah. Like as we keep saying all year, is it Hooker, Kerr, Neal were guaranteed $1 million. I think Jamie, you brought that stat up a couple of times a couple of weeks ago.
I think there were 3 of them on there. I think it was Dave Hellman that tweeted it. If you use either Dave or it was Rob Phillips that tweeted it. And there was 3 of them on it. Combined, they're on like $1 million. It's insane.
So, I mean, you know, like what Leighton's 5th-year option was going to cost us $9.5 million. I'm not paying $9.5 million to a guy that we're not guaranteed is going to play all 17 regular season games. It just doesn't make sense.
I'd be a bit nervy paying him $5 or $6 million. I say just for the fact that he had injury issues in that year, didn't he, as well? With Boise. He's had niggling issues since he come in. Last thing you want to do is saying he's paying someone 8, 9, 10 million and he don't see the field 50% of the time. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I might be being a little bit harsh, but he's had 4 turnovers in his career. Trevon Diggs has had 7 this season.
Yeah.
Now I understand that obviously with the ball in the air, you have more opportunities to go and get those turnovers. But with forced fumbles, and he had 2 interceptions his rookie season. That's not there anymore. He's had 2 forced fumbles in 2019, 2020. Does a tackling linebacker warrant a big deal? I'm not so sure. Does he cause fumbles? Does he take balls away from tight ends and so on? Nah, not really.
Nope.
I just want to raise the question because is he the vanilla linebacker that we need? They can't all be flash players. Is he just doing his job quietly. Because see, when you think, weigh him up against somebody like Sean Lee, there's no question. There's no question who you'd rather have. It's not even close.
So what kind of, as well, I think sometimes we get, like you say, padded with stats, don't we? And how many tackles for loss, blah, blah, blah. But as well, but if you look at, like I say, you look at other players on the team, just we've mentioned Urban before, Ziggy Dua at the minute, Tank Lawrence from time to time. Like how much pressures have they got on the QB? How much have they disrupted that line? And Leighton hasn't seemed to do that a lot when he's had those opportunities given to him by his front three, front four. Do you know what I mean? So it always seems to be a tackle our side of the field and not a lot for tackle for lot. Or even, like say, a quarterback hit, got him put a pressure on and gives then the DB a chance to go up and get the ball.
Yeah. Like I think Paul has summed it up pretty well in that, there's a lot of good linebackers in college. There's guys who will come out in the 4th, 5th round of the draft next year who will contribute. Like, I think
like Jabril Cox.
Yeah.
I
like two of my favorite corner or linebackers in the last couple of years, Fred Warner, who is with the 49ers. I think he got a $50 million deal there recently, was a 4th or a 5th round pick. Pete Warner, who was drafted this year, is already contributing. I'm not sure which team picked him up, but I know he has been contributing, and he was 4th or a 5th round pick. So you don't have to take a 1st round linebacker to have them contribute. Guys further down will contribute to you.
No.
You've just got to get them in the right system, and then a couple of players that are on this team now are in the right system, and I've always been under the impression that these players don't come out of college and then just turn into a bad player overnight. They're just in the wrong system. And I know we mentioned him, Johnny Manziel. He was a decent college quarterback. It was never going to work in Cleveland for Johnny Manziel. Yeah. Like you say, Mac Jones, he wasn't, and you go back through the draft shows. He was my favorite player, although he plays for Bama. Coming out, my favorite quarterback in the draft this year, and it just needed him to fall to the right team, and at the minute it's proven that he has it. The system works, so it's just you've got to get him in the right ones, and sadly for us, just for Leighton Van Der Esch, anyway, it seems it's not been the right system for him.
Yeah, very much so. So we're an hour and a half into the program, and it's time we did start winding down. So is there anything more that you'd like to cover on the defense, or anything else you're up so far in the season you'd like to discuss?
Just that Trevon Diggs is Defensive Player of the Year. Without a doubt. Get it over. Give him the award now. He's going to get a pick in the Super Bowl. It's Rich's chocolate pudding train, isn't it? I mean, we've all been on that Asda's own brand stuff, isn't it?
Jay, all podcast, I've been going, I'm not going to put a date on it. We'll go into the playoffs. We'll probably get a run in this. We're going to go deep into. Jay just comes on 5 minutes. Super Bowl. Going to the Super Bowl.
No, sorry. Here we go. Paul Stewart wants to discuss Neville Gallimore. So Gallimore will come back in the winter with 4 sacks, and he is willing to put a bet on it.
Ooh.
Gentlemen, would either of you like to take or discuss that bet, or would Paul like to even join us to discuss this bet?
What's he betting though? Let's see what he can come back with. Let's see what's on the field. I don't mind having. I've got no money. I'm a Yorkshireman. I'm tight. I don't mind having a bet with.
bottle of Bucky,
Right.
Jamie. There's the bet.
I'll take his bet. I don't think he gets. I think he plays well when he comes back, but I don't think he gets that many. I'll have that with you, Paul.
There's too much for me. There's too much competition.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. There's no. It's going to sound a little bit harsh, but there's no standout defensive tackle, if you know what I mean. I mean, Odigizua is obviously first guy off the bus. He's the big body. Oh, Bohanna, sorry. Bohanna's the big space eater. But I don't really see any of them holding a position to get 4 sacks, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have a bit of rotation in there, and the rotation keeps everybody fresh, but I don't see anybody getting the snap count to get the 4 sacks. I mean, if I'm wrong, then I'm delighted to be wrong. But I see the sacks coming from defensive end as opposed to D tackle.
Yeah. And Paul giving his reasons there. He thinks he's going to be the forgotten man with Osett, Quinton Bohanna, Carlos Watkins all doing so well. And I think, to be fair, all 3 of them have been. And we can throw Brent Urban into that mix as well. I mean, I think bar the last game against the Patriots, I think the run defense, and especially down the middle, has held up. You know, hopefully that Patriots game was just a one-off, and this is not going to become the norm, because if it does, we need to start worrying.
Yeah, you can't play at that intense level like they played for the first 5 weeks of the season. You're going to have them off seasons, and I think did me and Lawrence discuss a little bit last week. That was that was the game for me that showed what this team's about. Because a couple of years ago, they would have just capitulated, and it would have just, the wheels would have completely fallen off the bus, so to speak. And they dug in both sides of the ball. Like I say, that 75-yard touchdown could have just broken the back of anybody. And it shows that they've got the mental capability now to be able to shake it off and just go, right, fresh set of downs, let's go back and make up for that and have a real push this year. There's feels like, not to burst Graham's drum and speaking about it again, because I know I don't like speaking about it too much, but it feels like there's something special going on here, and that this could be a year where we go really far. I'll stop short of saying
because we all want Graham to do the chat.
We haven't been 5-1 for a long time. Let's just enjoy it. Enjoy it because of the salary cap, everybody dives, and there are peaks and troughs during your NFL lifetime. So you've got to enjoy the peaks, because you will see a trough sooner or later. Brian, a question to close out the show, if I can, right, for the both of you and people at home. Let's get the answers into this one, folks. So I'm going to give you a list of free agents, and you're allowed to keep 3 of them. Okay. So we've got Keanu Neal, Leighton Van Der Esch, Connor Williams, DeMonte Kazee, Jaron Kearse, Randy Gregory, and Michael Gallup. You're allowed to keep 3 of them. Who are you keeping?
Randy, obviously.
Randy Gregory, definitely.
I think Keanu Neal.
Mm-hmm.
I like his versatility. That's the reason I'd be keeping him.
And I think the third one I would keep would be Jaron Kearse.
Just say that list again, Jim. Sorry.
So you've got Keanu Neal, Leighton Van Der Esch, DeMonte Kazee, Connor Williams, Jaron Kearse, Randy Gregory, and Michael Gallup.
Maybe, Kearse, maybe. All parts of me saying Connor Williams, but I think his time's done for us, to be fair.
Yeah. Interesting that neither of you said Michael Gallup.
The only reason I didn't say Gallup is I just think I was thinking more from the salary cap. I just don't think we can afford to pay him because it's going to get to the point. I know it's a couple of years on the line, but then you're going to have to pay CD Lamb. So then even if you get rid of Cooper, which we're not going to do, but you're still going to be on the hook for some money for Cooper. Then you're going to be on the hook for CD Lamb. But then can you afford? Because he's essentially on this roster is essentially going to be your third receiver. Are you wanting to pay your wide receiver free 10 to 14 million maybe?
I think it's just an indication that you're quite happy to run with the 9 guys that we have on the season this year. You're quite happy to lose Williams and Gallup because you know we've got enough firepower to deal with it. I think that's the bottom line. I think if we weren't having such a huge season on offense, you'd be more concerned about Michael Gallup. But we're one of the best offenses in the league, and we haven't seen him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, and I think one of the names you didn't include in that list that should be in your list there, which would make it a lot more difficult, Dalton Schultz.
I still won't keep him.
That would have made it a lot harder, Graham.
Nah. Remember, he's tight end number 2. In terms of salary cap, he's tight end number 2. So, for me, I think you can.
We haven't done it. If we kind of flip it to the way we spoke about Leighton Van Der Esch, they haven't done it. They haven't put up enough numbers. They haven't impacted the games in different ways enough to warrant a big deal to stay. But it's like you kind of contradict yourself in a way, don't you? Say keep them, blah blah blah. But to be fair, if you look at the three for what Leighton Van Der Esch his job is and what their job is, Leighton Van Der Esch has done his job on that side of the ball better than they've done on their side of the ball.
Yeah. So
go out and trade anyway. Chuck all away and go out and trade.
Remember, you've still got Jaws for another 2 years.
Yeah. No. I mean, we only have him through 2022. He was signed to a 3-year deal before last season. So
that's strange because he's on over the cap for 2023. Is that another?
Is he?
Yeah.
Is that another... just a signing bonus?
No, it's definitely he's definitely there. I just wonder if it's another spread the money deal like Dak was.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is that maybe that's why he's there on 2023. But one thing I did want to bring up, and Andrew has asked this question a number of times. I'm just trying to find it. Are we having a party for the Super Bowl somewhere?
we have had discussions. I know we put something in the admin group, didn't we? Now everywhere is starting to reopen and get back to some normality. We need to get these things back up and running. I think the last conversation we had with Mike that something will come out around the Thanksgiving game about what's happening for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So it's not a no, Andrew. It's not a no.
It's not a no.
Backwards, innit?
Yeah. And look, for this Irish cowboy here on his own, I can freely admit that, I've known Jamie for 6-7 years at this stage. I've known Graham slightly less, but I've never met these guys, and it's definitely time that I met them. So I'm looking forward to it.
Get your ass on a plane and get over it. It's time to get.
The last point there that Andrew is making. How the hell did the Bucks keep all of their players? Andrew, I think they have a quarterback who is not afraid to take a team-friendly deal. They have a quarterback who is more interested in winning than being paid. It's the same reason that the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He never wanted huge deals because he wanted the players around him to help him win. You don't hear anyone talking about how much Tom Brady has earned. You keep hearing about the fact he's won 7 Super Bowls.
That's a dying breed, that as well. It's a dying breed, that as well. I mean, I think you need to put a certain amount of weight behind wanting to play with Tom Brady as well. And wanting to play with Brady in a nice climate. Don't forget the climate; that always helps as well. I don't think there's no particular stud that could have walked away. I don't think it's like, well, I could take $1 million elsewhere. I could take $1 million more elsewhere, or I could play with Tom Brady. You know, that kind of. I think the pulling power of TB12 is massive.
And do not underestimate the future pulling power of DP4.
Heck yeah!
But before we get out of here, of course, we gotta pay the bills. So if one of you gentlemen would like to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Well, if like Paul Stewart, you're planning to go to a couple of Cowboys games this year, make sure and book through Cowboys Experience. They treat you like absolute royalty. Certainly a couple of the guys, Paul and Jamie, they've been with Cowboys Experience before. You know, if you're going to go over to Texas to enjoy a game, don't do it on the cheap. Have the best weekend you will remember for a long, long time, and Cowboys Experience will make that happen for you. And all you have to do is write in UK Cowboys as a discount code, and you get
free stuff.
Free stuff.
Yeah,
it's as simple as
free
that.
Stuff.
UK Cowboys.
What's the other?
Free stuff.
And what's the other thing you get?
Chocolate pudding.
Oh, so as Rich Jones always tells you, people, don't be a clown. Get free stuff.
Yeah, man.
And Paul is telling you, Jamie, how dramatic you are. But the other one, Jamie, if you want to give our fellow content creators a shout out there as well.
Yeah, people like everyone over at DallasCowboys.com. So Hanging the Boys, The Break, Talking Cowboys. I mean, they put out obviously a lot of good stuff every day of the week. Also, people like Jay Tuck, Big Game James, KT, all those guys. I mean, blogging for the boys, and there's Kelsey and Meg as well on Fridays. Talking boys. I mean, if you want your Cowboys content, get out there and fill your boots. That's the best way to. Yeah. I mean, is to get out there and listen to it. I mean, broaden your knowledge, listen to everybody else's opinions. Just, I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Graham, did you say Paul Stewart is going to a game? He hasn't mentioned it.
Yeah, well, he hasn't mentioned it during this podcast.
Oh, no. I think he has.
No. Are they opening the borders?
Hold on. There we go.
My mistake.
So, of course, Paul, as always, we're just pulling your leg, mate. So,
Paul, I bet you didn't think you were going to see the Chiefs with a losing record.
Ooh.
I think we need to try and tempt Paul while he's out there, that he's got to come on either the Tuesday or the Thursday show while he's out there, just so he can let us know what the vibe is like on game day and all that kind of stuff.
And we've had a resounding.
We'll start a GoFundMe. We'll start a GoFundMe to pay for his 3G data.
Yeah.
Still got a little Nokia 13.
No, Paul's a gamer. He'll be 5G. Don't you worry. He'll be well set up.
I'm sure Jerry Jones will hook Paul up with 5G, LTE, and all kinds of content that he needs for his time in Dallas.
Come on, lads. It's Paul. He's going to stick his old. Do you remember the old internet connection he used to plug into the back of your router? He's going to get a router that goes like a big wire right across the Atlantic. He's going to be like, stay off the phone. Don't disconnect me internet.
We can also exclusively confirm that the flag will be over with Paul. So you can basically write the two AT&T games as wins. Just go and do it now. So we're effectively 7 and something basically by the time Paul comes back.
It's a good look at Cham, that flag, isn't it? It's been some wins, hasn't it?
100%.
You know what else is going, don't you? This year, it's going. We're not going to say the words, but it's going.
I'm totally lost.
The big dance, Bride. Come on, even you're not as slow as me.
Oh, I beg to differ, Jamie.
I'm just being polite. I just didn't want to mug you off on air.
Yeah, I know you didn't. Don't worry. As soon as we're off air, I'm sure you'll give it to me with both barrels. But as always, folks, Thursday night, hopefully Mike will be recovered and will be able to take you through the pre-game show against the Vikings. That will be at 9:00 here in the UK and Ireland. It'll be 4:00 on the East Coast, 3:00 in Texas, and 1 p.m. on the West Coast of America. So join Mike and the guys, and I think that's it, folks. So it's a good night from me.
Night. Stay safe.
See you next time.